You want comfort? You should have stayed married. My son didn't look up from his gaming controller when he said it. I stood at the door for a second too long, suitcase handle still clutched in one hand, paper bag of groceries wobbling in the other. My son barely moved. His feet were up on the coffee table, eyes locked on the screen where a digital battlefield unfolded, the blue glow flickering across his jawline. 24 years old, 5 o'clock shadow, and the kind of weariness in his posture that didn't match his age. Comfort, he repeated, deadpan. Should have stayed married. He didn't mean it as a joke. There was no punchline coming. I set the bag down on the counter too hard. Apples rolled out. One hit the floor and kept rolling until it tapped his foot. He didn't flinch. The couch, brown, sunken in the middle, frayed at the seams, was already half covered in a blanket and a pillow. It was the kind of couch that remembered every argument ever had on it. The kind you didn't just sit on, you surrendered to it. It didn't look like it had been cleaned since 2020. I won't be here long, I said. Cool, he said, not looking at me. I dropped my suitcase next to the radiator. My clothes were still warm from the car ride, but inside the apartment it felt like February, even though it was late September. No one had thought to turn the heat on yet. Or maybe no one cared enough to feel the cold. The kitchen was a claustrophobic L shape that led to nowhere. A few cracked mugs. An unopened stack of mail. On the fridge, a magnet that said Dad's, just like Mom's, only funnier. I stared at it until the laughter in my throat turned bitter. 10 years gone. That's how long it had been since I last lived under the same roof as my son. I used to fold his socks and write I love you in ketchup on his turkey sandwiches. Then one day, I just wasn't there. I'd left. For reasons he never asked to understand, and I never had the courage to explain. But now, here I was. Back in his life, squeezed between guilt and his IKEA side table. Freshly divorced, emotionally wrung out, and carrying a bag full of frozen dinners and parental shame. We barely spoke. I tried, asking about work, his new girlfriend, if he had one, if he still played guitar. He shrugged, grunted, answered in single syllables. It felt like talking to a voicemail. That night, I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling. The springs underneath jabbed my ribs in rhythms. My son had retreated to his bedroom. I could hear music through the wall, some angry lo-fi beat that sounded like it was built to keep people out. I scrolled my phone to numb the ache. Then the voicemail icon blinked. One new message. From Marcus. My ex-husband. His father. The man I'd left. The man who'd made sure our son never forgot it. I hesitated. Pressed play. It's me, Marcus's voice said. We need to talk. It's urgent. Click. Just that. Nothing more. But something about the tone, tight, dry, scared, maybe, sent a slow pulse down my spine. I stared at the phone like it was going to ring again. It didn't. But I couldn't stop the feeling that this wasn't just about the divorce. Something was coming. And it wasn't comfort. He eats in silence. I talk to fill it. But every sentence feels like trespassing. The kitchen table wobbled with every move. One leg was shorter than the others, propped up by a stack of expired coupons and a matchbook. My fork scraped the plate louder than it should have. The spaghetti tasted like the jar it came in. Across from me, my son chewed slowly, deliberately, as if the act of eating was all he could offer. So, I tried, work still at that sports store? He nodded, eyes on his plate. That must be fun? He snorted. Yeah. Living the dream. I smiled, too quick. They treat you okay? He shrugged. The space between us wasn't just physical. It was a decade wide and full of things we'd both refused to say. He reached for the hot sauce but didn't pass it back. I took a sip of lukewarm tap water. I used to make spaghetti every Thursday, I said, carefully. Remember that? His jaw tensed. I remember Dad learning to cook after you left. I flinched, breath caught halfway down my throat. He didn't notice, or maybe he did, and just didn't care. Either way, I deserved it. I wasn't well, I said. He nodded again. So you've mentioned. The chair creaked under me as I shifted. I wasn't trying to abandon you. I was trying to survive. He pushed a meatball around with his fork. 10 years to survive, huh? It wasn't supposed to be that long. But it was. His eyes finally met mine, hard and cold. And now you're here, acting like we're just picking up where we left off. I'm not, I said, voice trembling. I know I don't deserve that. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. Then what do you want? I opened my mouth. Closed it. The truth was, I didn't know. Forgiveness? A sliver of connection? A place where my name wasn't awound? I just wanted to know you again, I whispered. He blinked. Looked down at his plate again. Well, I'm not the kid you remember. After dinner, he went to his room and shut the door with the kind of finality that made the air in the apartment shift. I stayed in the kitchen, washing dishes with trembling hands, as if scrubbing the plates might also scrub the shame. The silence pressed against the walls like water against glass. Then I heard it. His voice. Through the thin wall. Muffled. Fast. I know. She's not staying long. She can't. I won't let her. I froze, sponge in hand, water dripping from my fingers. She can't. The faucet kept running. But all I could hear was his voice. And that one word, can't. The boxes weren't there yesterday. Are these mine, or his way of packing me out already? Morning came without warmth. Just light, sharp and indifferent, bleeding through half-bent blinds. I sat up on the couch with my neck twisted wrong, the imprint of a remote control across my ribs. That's when I saw them. 3 cardboard boxes. Stacked by the door. Brown, unmarked. They hadn't been there last night. Of that, I was sure. I stood, joints aching from the night, and approached them like they might explode. No labels. No notes. Just taped tight and pushed out of the way like someone was done thinking about them. I opened the top one slowly. Papers. Some books. My books. The second had sweaters. My red one from before the divorce. My boots, still with last winter's salt stains. Things I hadn't seen in years, things I never packed when I left. The third box stopped my breath. My journal. Dark green leather cover. Edges frayed. Pages bloated from water damage, maybe a leak, maybe tears. I hadn't seen it in a decade. I didn't even remember what was inside. I carried the journal to the couch like I was holding a newborn. Saturday. Flipped it open. The handwriting hit me first, small, desperate, slanted like it was running from something. I'm losing hours again. Whole chunks of time vanish. I wake up in rooms I didn't walk into. Marcus says I'm crazy. Maybe I am. But if I am, why do I feel more sane away from him? I miss Adam. But I think Marcus tells him I'm dangerous. Last week, Adam wouldn't hug me. Page after page blurred together. Nightmares. Episodes. Panic. Pills. Questions. And then this, if anything happens to me, don't trust Marcus. I stared at the words for what felt like an hour. Not love you. Not take care of Adam. Just that one sentence. Like a lifeline thrown to my future self. A warning. The door creaked. I quickly slid the journal under the couch cushion. My son, Adam, walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes, shirtless, phone in hand. He didn't look at the boxes. Hey, he said, groggy. Morning. He poured himself cereal. Sat at the kitchen table without a word. I watched him from the couch, heart thudding against my ribs like it wanted out. You bring those boxes up? I asked casually. He frowned mid-bite. What boxes? The ones by the door. He looked over, shrugged. No. Thought they were yours. I didn't bring them in. Another shrug. I waited. Wanted to ask then who did? But I was afraid of the answer. Or worse, his indifference to it. That night, after he went to bed, I pulled the journal back out. There were more entries I hadn't read. One began, Marcus says if I leave, I'll never see Adam again. And below it, scratched in a different pen, one word, proof? My son's eyes lock on the journal. You still blame Dad? I'd left the journal on the kitchen table by mistake. Maybe it was subconscious. Maybe I wanted him to see it. Or maybe I was just tired of hiding pieces of myself in drawers and under couch cushions. When I came out of the shower, there he was, Adam, standing over it, one hand braced on the edge of the table like he needed help keeping steady. The journal was open. Too far in. You still blame Dad? He asked, without looking up. My stomach twisted. You read it. He finally met my eyes. You left this out. That doesn't mean you shouldn't know the version of events you're rewriting, he snapped. Yeah, okay. I wrapped my towel tighter, trying to keep from shaking. I didn't rewrite anything. He scoffed. You're seriously gonna say Marcus was some villain? That he made you sick? That he manipulated everything like some evil mastermind? I'm saying he wasn't innocent. He knew I was unraveling and used it against me. You were unstable, he said coldly. He raised me. Alone. Because he pushed me out, I shot back. You were 8, Adam. You think you remember, but you don't. He clenched his jaw. I remember hiding behind the laundry door while you screamed. I remember you not coming home. I remember Dad crying into the sink. I bit down hard on my lip. Yes, I had screamed. At walls. At myself. At the echoes in the house that never answered back. But not at Adam. Never at Adam. I wasn't okay, I said quietly. But he made sure you thought that was all I ever was. I loved you. Even when I was broken. He folded the journal shut with too much force. Let's not talk about that, he said, stepping back. It's always about that with you. I watched him disappear into his room, slamming the door. The journal stayed on the table, silent now. Accused. Guilty. I sat there for hours. Wondering what would have happened if I'd fought harder. If I'd made him come with me. If I hadn't let Marcus take the narrative and run with it. If I had died, like I once thought about, would the version Adam remembered still be the truth? Maybe it already was. Later that night, I scrolled my phone aimlessly, too wired to sleep. Social media was a minefield, pictures of Marcus at dinner parties, smiling with colleagues, seemingly untouched by time or guilt. Then the message pinged in my inbox. From Beth R. Profile pic, blank. Message, you were right to leave. Can we talk? My finger hovered over the reply button. Who was Beth? How did she know me, or Marcus? And how did she know I was right to leave? Beth R. knew things she shouldn't. Intimate details. My journal wasn't private after all. We met at a chain coffee shop off I-84. Neutral ground. One of those places where no one looks too long at anyone else, perfect for two women with secrets. Beth was already seated when I arrived. Medium build, mid-40s, plain cardigan. But there was something haunted in her eyes. Like she'd survived the same storm and still smelled like rain. She didn't smile when she saw me. Just nodded toward the chair across from her. I ordered chamomile. Hope that's okay, she said. I sat, wary. You said you knew Marcus. I did, she replied. Too well. Her story unraveled slowly, like an old thread. She'd been with Marcus 3 years after I left him. He was charming at first, funny, generous, the kind of man who made you feel chosen. And then? I asked. Then he started keeping score, she said. Every argument had a ledger. Every weakness I confessed became ammunition. I knew that pattern. The way Marcus would twist tears into tantrums, and fears into flaws. Beth leaned closer. He told me about you. Said you were mentally unstable, that he'd saved your son from growing up in chaos. My stomach turned. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot of a message he'd once sent her. Trust me, my ex-wife lives in fantasy. The court saw it too. She's dangerous. The words blurred. I could see them in my own handwriting from the journal. How did he know about my journal? I asked, voice tight. Beth hesitated. Did you ever keep it on your computer? My heart sank. Yes, I whispered. He got into my laptop once. Said it was to fix a glitch. Maybe he did the same to you. It hit like a slow burn. He'd read my private breakdowns, my rawest moments, and weaponized them. Then she said something that shattered the air between us. There's something else. He called CPS. On you. What? Beth nodded solemnly. He told me it was part of his plan. Said if he documented enough evidence, he could guarantee full custody. Even if it meant planting doubt with the state. I blinked, stunned. And then I remembered. The knock at the door. The social worker's polite voice. Adam's scared face clutching his stuffed bear. Marcus had stood by the kitchen counter the whole time. Calm. Quiet. At the time, I believed someone from the school must have reported a concern. But Marcus had called CPS himself. He'd built the narrative from the inside out. You're not the first, Beth said gently. He thrives on making women question their own sanity. I sat back, breath shallow. I wanted to scream. To run. To punch something. But instead, I just said, thank you. She reached across the table, briefly squeezed my hand. And then. Mom? I turned. Adam. Standing behind me. Expression unreadable, eyes fixed on Beth, then on me. How much did you hear? I asked, voice cracking. Enough, he said. But I don't believe her. Adam. She's lying. Dad told me you were dangerous. He showed me proof. He looked at me like I was the stranger. Like all the coffee shop lighting in the world couldn't soften the shadows now dancing across my face. Marcus had filed the CPS complaint himself. Her son had believed her instability was real, because Marcus designed it that way. Adam backed away. I need air, he muttered. And before I could stop him, he was gone, again. The more I dig into the past, the more I lose my son in the present. The apartment felt too quiet. Like even the walls had pulled back, unsure of which of us would erupt next. Adam hadn't said a word to me since the coffee shop. He came home late, slept fully dressed, left early, and avoided eye contact like it hurt. I tried to explain. Sat at the kitchen table 3 nights in a row with notes, timelines, scanned pages from the journal. But every attempt sounded more like a defense than a truth. And truth was slippery now. I was starting to question my own memory again. Things I can't prove, that Marcus manipulated CPS into taking Adam away. That my mental illness didn't mean I was unfit to be a mother. That I didn't leave Adam, I lost him in a fog of medication and survival. That I begged for visitation, and Marcus buried the letters. That I never stopped loving him, not for 1 second. Flashbacks came like unexpected guests. I'd be stirring soup and suddenly smell antiseptic. Hear the flat beep of hospital monitors. Feel the stiff hospital gown against my back. The postpartum episode after Adam was born, how I floated outside my own body, watching myself pace with a baby who wouldn't sleep and a husband who watched me like I might explode. The whispering nurses. The white room. The ink-stained clipboard with the word unstable circled 3 times. The numbing. Then the silence. Marcus had called it taking care of things. I called it disappearing. On the third morning, I woke to an empty apartment. The couch was untouched. His bed, too. No sounds from the bathroom. No keys on the hook. I found a crumpled piece of notebook paper on the kitchen counter. Don't follow me. I need space. No call. No destination. Just gone. I spent the next 2 days pacing. Calling. Leaving voicemails that started calm and ended in whispers. Checked hospitals. Messaged his friends on social. Got nothing but "he's probably fine" replies. What if I was doing it again? Losing him by trying to save him? On the second night, I fell asleep on the floor by the front door. When I woke up, the journal was missing. And so was the third box, the one that held his baby photos. I always feared losing him. But I never imagined I'd lose him this way, by finally telling him the truth. I barely ate. Barely moved. Every footstep in the hallway outside made my breath hitch. Every passing siren made my stomach clench. And the longer Adam stayed gone, the more I wondered if honesty had been a mistake. Maybe some truths should stay buried. But silence didn't work either, not for me, not anymore. So I forced myself up. Moved through the apartment like a ghost, trying to remember what normal used to feel like. I opened his desk drawer looking for something, anything, to anchor myself. That's when I saw it. The red folder. Thicker than I remembered. Nestled beneath a pile of receipts and unopened mail. I sat down at the desk. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, legal documents, court transcripts, case files I never knew existed. The top page had my name, bold and cold. Termination of parental rights, voluntary declaration. But the signature, it didn't look right. It looked traced. The loops too clean. The ink too perfect. My heart pounded as I flipped the pages. Attached was a psychological evaluation dated 2 weeks after my institutionalization. Patient appears emotionally unstable and unable to provide consistent care. Recommendation, primary custody to remain with father. Below it, a letter. Addressed to me. Never mailed. From a lawyer. Warning of consequences if I didn't respond within 30 days. I'd never seen it. I kept flipping. Buried deep in the file was a page Marcus had signed. A request to expedite custody based on emergency concern. He'd filed it 3 days after my breakdown. Before I was even released, a memory bubbled up, one I hadn't let myself touch in years. That night. A waiting room. A clipboard thrust into my hands. Marcus beside me, voice low and urgent. Just sign it. It's so we can get help faster. I was sedated. Confused. I signed. I never read it. And maybe that was the night I lost Adam. The front door creaked. I froze. He was back. Adam walked in slowly, hoodie damp from rain, face unreadable. He didn't look at me. Just dropped his bag on the floor and walked to the sink, filling a glass of water like nothing had happened. I was at Dad's, he said flatly. Needed answers. I couldn't speak. He said you're spinning stories. That you're paranoid again. I inhaled sharply. And do you believe him? Adam didn't answer right away. Then, I don't know what to believe. I stood, holding the folder like it weighed 100 pounds. You should read this. He hesitated. Then took it. He flipped to the last page. His eyes scanned the signature. He looked up at me, and for the first time, his voice cracked. Did you really sign me away? My name. My rights. My silence. I watched him read. His fingers tensed with every page. His eyes darted across words like they were barbed wire, careful not to let them cut, but too stubborn to stop. When he got to the forged signature, he froze. This isn't yours, he said. No, I whispered. It isn't. He looked at the header, voluntary termination of parental rights. Why would he forge this? Because if I didn't give him permission, he couldn't legally keep you from me forever. Adam stared at me. So he stole me. My breath caught. No. He manipulated both of us. He told me signing that paper was temporary. That it was just for treatment. So he could handle things. I didn't know he made it permanent. I didn't know until it was done. And the lawyer? He never gave me that letter, I said. I would have fought. I would have bled for a hearing. But he kept it all quiet until it was over. Adam leaned back against the wall, shell-shocked. I could see his internal compass spinning wildly. He'd built a whole life around the idea that I left. That I chose absence. Now that foundation was cracking. I don't even know who I am if he's been lying this whole time, he said softly. I stepped closer but stopped just short of touching him. You're still my son. That never changed. Not for a day. He didn't flinch this time. Progress. Later that night, I took the red folder and scanned every document. Then, hesitantly, I sent them to an old friend, a lawyer I hadn't spoken to in years. She called me back within the hour. This signature won't hold up under scrutiny, she said. And the fact that you weren't notified properly about the custody finalization? That's a due process violation, so there's still something I can do? Yes. There's a chance to challenge the original ruling. Especially if the original termination wasn't witnessed properly. You were in a vulnerable mental state. You might have a legal case here. The words hit me like light cracking through fog. After all these years, maybe I hadn't completely lost everything. But the next morning, Adam was quiet again. Not distant. Just overwhelmed. He sat at the kitchen table thumbing through baby photos from the missing box he'd taken. There was one of him as a toddler, on my lap, spaghetti sauce on both our faces. You look happy here, he said. I said. Before everything, before the silence. He didn't look at me, but he didn't close the box either. Later that day, my phone lit up. Unknown number. Voicemail. I played it. A woman's voice. This is from legal records. Someone's requested access to your custody file from 2012. If that wasn't you, please call us immediately. I hadn't made that request. Someone else had. I didn't just lose years. I lost the version of me he remembers. Adam stood in the hallway with the phone still in his hand, screen dimmed, face unreadable. You didn't request the file? No, I said. Maybe my lawyer, but I doubt it. She would have told me. He just nodded and walked back into the apartment. No anger. No panic. Just stillness. Like something in him had gone numb. I followed him slowly, unsure if I should press or give space. But he answered before I could ask. I requested it. I blinked. Why? He didn't sit, just leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, voice lower than usual. Because I need more than your version. Or his. I need mine. That night, he stayed up going through the scanned pages. Highlighting dates. Cross-referencing memories. A yellow highlighter mark glowed faintly across the line. Adam will be safer without her. He whispered, I don't even remember being scared of you. You weren't, I said gently. You were scared for me. The next day, we sat in the living room for hours. No distractions. Just silence that finally broke. I remember something, Adam said. One night, you were outside. I sat up. It was after the hospital. I was playing with Legos by the window, and I looked up, and there you were. Just standing in the rain. Watching the house. My throat closed. I wasn't supposed to come back. But I had to see you. You were soaked, he continued, more to himself now. You looked so afraid. Like you didn't know if I'd see you. I didn't want to scare you. He looked up. Why didn't you knock? Because your dad would have called the cops, I whispered. He looked away. Rubbed his jaw. He said you disappeared, that you didn't want to come back. That you were too far gone to care. I reached into my bag and pulled out the letters. All of them. Unsent. Unsmeared. Dated and signed. I wrote every month. For 4 years. Even when I knew you wouldn't read them. Even when I didn't know where to send them. He took one. Read the first few lines. Then another. Then stopped. I can't do this, he said suddenly. He folded the paper roughly, ripped it in half, and dropped it on the floor. Adam. I can't read this and also pretend I understand how to feel about you, he said. It's too much, too fast. I'm not asking you to forgive me overnight. I don't know what I believe anymore, he said, voice rising. I don't know if anything I remember is real. Then he looked me dead in the eye. My whole childhood might be a lie. He stood. But I do remember one thing. I held my breath. He said, you were outside that night. And you didn't leave. You just stood there. Dad, he says. Did Mom ever? Then silence. The next morning, Adam stood by the window with his phone in his hand like it weighed more than a brick. I want to hear his side, he said. I nodded, trying to keep my face still. I don't want you in the room, he added. That part stung. But I understood. He dialed. Put the phone to his ear. I held my breath. Hey, Dad. Pause. Yeah, I'm okay. I need to ask something. Longer pause. His eyes flicked to me, then away. Did Mom ever sign something? To give you full custody? He walked into the bedroom before I could hear the answer. I sat alone on the couch, heart thudding. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The door opened. He stepped out slowly, jaw tight, face pale. Well? I asked. Adam sat down, rubbed his forehead. He cried. Said he was trying to protect me. That you were too sick to keep me safe. I waited. But he avoided every direct question, Adam said. Every single one. Did he admit to anything? Adam looked at me with a mixture of shame and rage. No. But he slipped. What do you mean? When I asked why he didn't let us talk, he said, because you needed stability. You couldn't handle watching her unravel again. I blinked. So he knew I was getting better. Adam nodded. Which means he kept me away anyway. We sat in silence. The truth finally hung in the air, naked and undeniable. I reached for his hand, but stopped. Instead, I asked, do you believe me now? He looked at me. Just looked. Then, I don't believe either of you. That hurt more than I expected. But I believe me, he said. I remember the night he told me you left us. That you didn't say goodbye. That you just walked out. I never got the chance, I whispered. And now, he continued, voice cracking, I'm realizing maybe he didn't tell me the truth. Not all of it. He stared down at his hands. What do I even do with that? You do what I didn't, I said. You take the pain, and you make something honest out of it. You decide who you want to be now, not who he told you to be. Adam didn't speak for a while. Then he said, you know what I remember more than anything? What? You standing in the rain. Not Dad, he says. Did Mom ever? Then silence. The next morning, Adam stood by the window with his phone in his hand like it weighed more than a brick. I want to hear his side, he said. I nodded, trying to keep my face still. I don't want you in the room, he added. That part stung. But I understood. He dialed. Put the phone to his ear. I held my breath. Hey, Dad. I sat outside that window for 2 hours. He never opened the door. I didn't ask questions when Adam returned. His jacket was soaked, his face drawn and red from wind. He dropped his keys in the bowl by the door and sat on the couch like it had been calling him all day. "You were right," he said finally. I didn't speak. I waited. He admitted it. I closed my eyes. He told me he didn't want me to see you in that state. That he was scared of what it would do to me. But mostly, he didn't want to share me. I inhaled sharply. Adam nodded. His exact words. I sat beside him, slow and careful, like the floor between us might break open. "There's something I never told you," I said. He turned slightly toward me. "The night you saw me standing in the rain. I stood there for 2 hours. I brought a bag of toys. A letter. Even a copy of that awful stuffed dog you used to carry around everywhere." Adam blinked. "Mr. Waffles?" I smiled softly. "You named him after the food poisoning incident." "I remember," he murmured. I continued, "I stood there because I knew if I knocked, Marcus would shut the door in my face. Or worse, call the cops. So I waited. I thought, maybe you'd see me. Maybe you'd come." "I did," he said. "But I didn't know if I was supposed to." "You were," I whispered. "Always." He leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I feel like I missed half my life." I nodded. "I feel like I missed all of yours." Adam looked at the floor. "We can't fix all this, can we?" "No," I said. "But maybe we can stop it from breaking more." Later that night, he asked to see one of the letters again. I handed him one dated July 15, 2015. His 15th birthday. He opened it, read the first line. And then, slowly, tore it down the center. My heart skipped. "Why?" "Because I don't want memories," he said. "I want moments." Then he looked up. "So let's make some." We stayed up late. Just talking. No tension. No ticking clock. He told me about a band he almost joined in college. A girl he let go too easily. The time he stole a pack of gum and cried for 3 hours after. I told him about my recovery, my therapist named Lois who wore glittery boots, and the first time I laughed again, in a pet store, watching a turtle chase a grape. He laughed at that. A real laugh. For the first time since I'd arrived. The next morning, his phone buzzed. A message from his boss. "Your transfer was approved. Full relocation package. Free housing included. Congrats." Adam stared at the screen. And then at me. We're two ghosts haunting the same living room. The message hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Your transfer was approved. Adam set the phone down face up, as if daring the future to make the first move. I pretended to wash dishes I'd already cleaned. Neither of us spoke for a full minute. You gonna take it? I finally asked. He didn't answer. I mean, it's a good opportunity. Fresh start, better pay, rent covered. I'd take it. I know, he said. You always took the hard exits. That stung more than I let show. The next few days were awkwardly domestic. We cooked meals, shared laundry duty. Tried to live like a family might, without any of the practiced ease. It was like walking with a limp you're still getting used to. He watched old sitcoms with the volume too low. I read books I couldn't follow. Sometimes, we'd both be in the kitchen and realize there was nothing left to talk about. We weren't fighting anymore. But we weren't healing either. On Thursday, I found him packing. One duffel bag. Some records. A few worn t-shirts. He caught me watching from the doorway. I'm not leaving because of you, he said. I know. I'm leaving because I don't want to hate this place. Or hate you. I need space. I understand. He hesitated, then added, and maybe this isn't goodbye. That night, we had dinner sitting on the floor. No table. Just pizza and soda like teenagers. I told him he was brave. He told me he was terrified. Then we sat in silence. The good kind. The kind that says, we survived this. Whatever this was. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee. Adam was gone. But on the counter, he'd left a note, the lease is in both our names now. The couch is yours. For as long as you want it. I told him to go. But I whispered it. So he wouldn't hear. The apartment felt like it had been holding its breath, and now, finally, it exhaled. His bag was gone. His boots. His electric razor. But the couch remained. Still sagging in the middle. Still too brown. But now, it didn't feel like exile. It felt like a space that had been given, not withheld. The lease papers were signed. His name, mine. I stared at the signature line where I'd written my name with a pen that barely worked, and still, the ink looked more alive than the one Marcus had forged all those years ago. For the first time in years, I unpacked fully. Hung clothes in a closet. Put books on a shelf. Lit a candle not to hide the smell, but to welcome the room. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Adam. A text, made it. It's weird. Feels like a life I wasn't supposed to get. I replied, take it. It's yours now. We talked every other day. Briefly. Gently. No questions about the past. No demands for the future. Just space. 2 weeks later, a small box arrived. No return address. Inside, a ring. Simple. Gold. Old. My wedding ring. I hadn't seen it since the divorce. I'd thought Marcus pawned it. Or burned it. Beneath the ring, a note in Marcus's handwriting. Thought you might want this. Or maybe need it. For whatever comes next. I stared at it for a long time. Not angered. Not hurt. Just tired. Adam left, but gave her the apartment, the lease, and the freedom to start over. For the first time, her stability was her own. That night, I sat on the couch, the same one I once resented, and finally saw it for what it was, not a punishment. Not a downgrade. A beginning. I told him to go. But I whispered it. So he wouldn't hear. The apartment felt like it had been holding its breath, and now, finally, it exhaled. His bag was gone. His boots. His electric razor. But the couch remained. Still sagging in the middle. I told him to go. But I whispered it. So he wouldn't hear. The apartment felt like it had been holding its breath, and now, finally, it exhaled. His bag was gone. His boots. His electric razor. But the couch remained. Still sagging in the middle. Still too brown. But now, it didn't feel like exile. It felt like a space that had been given, not withheld. The lease papers were signed. His name, mine. I stared at the signature line where I'd written my name with a pen that barely worked, and still, the ink looked more alive than the one Marcus had forged all those years ago. For the first time in years, I unpacked fully. Hung clothes in a closet. Put books on a shelf. Lit a candle not to hide the smell, but to welcome the room. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Adam. A text, made it. It's weird. Feels like a life I wasn't supposed to get. I replied, take it. It's yours now. We talked every other day. Briefly. Gently. No questions about the past. No demands for the future. Just space. 2 weeks later, a small box arrived. No return address. Inside, a ring. Simple. Gold. Old. My wedding ring. I hadn't seen it since the divorce. I'd thought Marcus pawned it. Or burned it. Beneath the ring, a note in Marcus's handwriting. Thought you might want this. Or maybe need it. For whatever comes next. I stared at it for a long time. Not angered. Not hurt. Just tired. Adam left, but gave her the apartment, the lease, and the freedom to start over. For the first time, her stability was her own. That night, I sat on the couch, the same one I once resented, and finally saw it for what it was. I told him to go. But I whispered it. So he wouldn't hear. The apartment felt like it had been holding its breath, and now, finally, it exhaled. His bag was gone. His boots. His electric razor. But the couch remained. Still sagging in the middle. Still too brown. But now, it didn't feel like exile. It felt, the couch is still there. But I don't need it anymore. He knocked this time. 3 soft taps. No key turn. No kicking the door open like he used to when he lived here. I opened it and found him standing there, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, posture loose, not defensive. Just present. "Hey," he said. "Hey. Still got the couch?" I smiled. Still uncomfortable as hell. He stepped inside, dropped the bag, and looked around like he was returning to a place that had aged without him. "It smells better," he said. "I discovered bleach." We both laughed, awkward and real. We sat together on opposite ends of the couch, the same one that started all this. The line between us was still there, but softer now. Not a wall. Just a crease in the cushion. "I talked to Marcus," he said. "I know. He said you forgave him." "I didn't," I corrected. "But I left the ring." "That was enough." He nodded slowly. "He told me about the DNA test." I held my breath. "I thought I'd be angry," he continued. "But honestly, I don't care." He raised me. "That part's real. And you." He looked at me. "You gave me the truth. That part's real too." We sat in silence for a while, listening to traffic hum past the window. Then he said, "You know what I missed most?" "What?" "Your laugh. Not the loud one. The little one. When you're surprised something's funny." I smiled, just barely. "Say something funny," I said. He thought for a second, then grinned. "Comfort? Should have stayed married." We both cracked up, louder than we should have. And when it died down, I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Peace. Later that night, he helped me rearrange the apartment. We moved the couch slightly, set up a second-hand bookshelf, tossed the old rug. Nothing fancy. But now it looked like a home. Our home. Maybe just for now. Maybe longer. That was enough. I wrote one final journal entry. Not in the old book. Not in digital notes. Just pen and paper. He came back. Not to stay. Not to fix. Just to sit beside me and say, "We're both still here." Adam stood by the door with his bag, ready to leave for his new apartment across town. Not far. He looked at me, one hand still on the knob. "I'll be back next week." "Sunday?" "I'll cook," I said. "You'll burn it, tradition." He opened the door. "Hey, Mom?" "Yeah?" He smiled. "Thanks for surviving."